What if the biggest predator in the ocean wasn't a shark or a kraken or anything we've ever classified? What if it was something else entirely? Something ancient, massive, and terrifyingly smart. Beneath the South China Sea lies an underwater mountain range riddled with canyons so deep, not even the most advanced submersibles dare go near them. Ships disappear in those waters all the time. No wreckage, no distress calls, just silence. Tonight, a cargo crew sails straight into the heart of that mystery, and into the jaws of something far more horrifying than they could have ever imagined. It begins with a storm. The sea is brutal, the waves relentless, the wind howling like some vengeful god. On deck, Ayla fights to fix the failing hydraulics while getting drenched by rain and battered by saltwater spray. "Get your lazy ass out here!" she screams into the comms. Captain John, dry and frustrated in the control room, ignores her. He's too busy fighting the radar, which has suddenly started glitching. Static. Nothing but static. His frustration builds as he slams buttons, but it's no use. Below deck, Joey, grimy, sarcastic, and always tinkering, wrestles with stubborn machinery while trading insults with John. "Maybe if you didn't treat this ship like a punching bag," he snaps, "we'd still have a working radar." But this isn't just another delivery. They've been hired for a mysterious job by a man named Hanover. Cold, calculated, and flanked by mercenaries who clearly aren't used to the ocean, Hanover wants cargo transported to a random spot in the middle of nowhere. No questions asked. The mercs aren't exactly a well-oiled machine. One of them pukes over the side of the ship while the others crack jokes and mess around. Joey, of course, can't resist temptation. He sneaks into the cargo bay, cracks open one of Hanover's crates, and finds military-grade torpedoes staring back at him. Before he can react, the mercenaries catch him. They beat him mercilessly. Ayla hears it all on the comms and begs John to step in. Reluctantly, he does, firing his gun into the ceiling to break up the fight. He reminds everyone that if they don't stick to the rules, the contract is void. Hanover, always composed, coldly reminds John that asking questions was never part of the deal, but it's too late. Something's coming. The radar suddenly lights up. Something massive, something moving beneath the waves. Not far from the freighter, a floating palace cuts through the storm, an extravagant luxury cruise liner gliding across the sea like a dream. Inside, the party is in full swing. Champagne flows, laughter echoes, and a string quartet plays as billionaires toast to new ventures. Simon Canton, the billionaire owner, gives a speech. "This ship," he announces, "is more than a vessel, it's a vision, the future, a floating city where dreams come true." But not everyone's dreaming the same dream. Moving silently through the crowd is Trillian, a smooth-talking thief with nimble fingers and nerves of steel. She bumps into the captain, swipes his security card, and disables the camera system. Then she breaks into the vault, scooping up priceless jewels with a grin, until Simon and the captain burst in and arrest her. They already know who she is. Trillian's file is thick, international thief, wanted in multiple countries. They lock her in the storage room, but they don't notice she's stolen Simon's wallet. As the party continues upstairs, something breaks into the control room. A shadowy figure swaps out the ship's navigation discs. Almost immediately, the ship's systems go dark. Radar malfunctions, communications cut out. Then a sailor sees something enormous swimming directly toward them, right before the ship is rocked by a sudden, violent impact. Passengers scream. Furniture flies through the air. Dozens are injured. People are trampled as panic erupts in every corridor. One woman hides in a bathroom, only for something to reach up from the toilet and drag her screaming into the pipes. Back on John's freighter, things get worse. The radar is still down, and now they spot wreckage floating nearby, a smashed lifeboat. Before John can steer clear, it's too late. The freighter crashes into it. An explosion rips through the engine room. Flames engulf the deck. Systems fail. They're dead in the water. Through the smoke, John spots the cruise ship, eerily still, drifting with no lights. Hanover seizes the opportunity, With weapons drawn, he announces a change of plans. The freighter crew is now hostages. They're boarding the cruise ship. What they find is horrifying. No passengers, no crew, just trails of blood smeared along walls and elevators. The lifeboats are still on board. There's no sign that anyone escaped. Something very bad happened here. They split up to search. A noise triggers the mercs, and they open fire, only to discover it was just a firework malfunction. But they're so impressed by their new weapons that they keep firing, laughing like maniacs. The noise echoes through the empty halls, and something hears it. Trillian escapes her storage room just as strange bubbling sounds come from the pipes. She forces the door open and slips into the shadows. Back on the freighter, Isla tries to repair the damage, only to spot a body floating nearby. When she leans over to look, something grabs her and pulls her underwater. She doesn't come back up. On board the cruise ship, Tay wanders down a corridor and sees something moving in the shadows. He leans in to investigate, then suddenly vanishes, yanked into the dark as his screams echo through the ship. The others hear it. They know something is very, very wrong. Then Momoli is attacked next. He's dragged through the water, his head smashed into pipes, his screams turning to gurgles. Joey and John can only stare in horror before his body is torn apart and dragged away. Trillian, meanwhile, breaks back into the vault, only to be caught again. But this time, the moment a mercenary opens the vault door, an axe slams into his head. Simon and a handful of terrified survivors were hiding there. In the chaos, the mercenaries shoot first, killing innocent people before realizing they were civilians. Simon and the captain are taken hostage. John puts the pieces together. Simon and Hanover know each other, and sure enough, Simon confesses. The cruise was a setup. He's broke. He hired Hanover to loot the ship and fake an explosion for the insurance. He planned to evacuate everyone on lifeboats. But the creature changed everything, and now there's no escape. The attacks increase. Tentacles pour from the ceiling. One wraps around Billy and disintegrates him with acidic slime. Bones fall to the floor. Panic erupts. People run and scatter. Trillian begs John to take her with him, but when he's grabbed, she turns back, guns blazing, to save him. The creature is relentless, it's huge, and it's everywhere. John realizes it's not worms, not multiple creatures. It's one giant mutated octopus, massive enough to wrap itself through every corridor and room at the same time. And now, it's hunting them all. Simon finds the captain trapped under debris but refuses to help. John and Trillian arrive too late. The monster eats him alive. They shoot at it with everything they've got. Nothing stops it. The survivors race toward the engine room. John's plan: activate the torpedoes, put the ship on autopilot, and ram it into the beast. The group dives into flooded corridors. One merc freaks out and is grabbed, but not before detonating a grenade, taking a chunk of the monster with him. Inside the kitchen, tensions boil. Mulligan loses it and opens fire, only to be ambushed and swallowed whole. They're being herded, trapped, forced toward the bow. Simon takes a different hallway, leaving the group behind. As they enter the bow, the floor collapses. A massive wave crashes in, sweeping Trillian and John away. They lose their parts. Everything seems lost. Hanover, in a last act of cruelty, shoots Joey in the leg to use him as bait and escapes. But Joey hides in a dumbwaiter. Later, Hanover finds him and tries to finish the job, only to be devoured himself. John and Trillian make it back to the freighter. Trillian heads for a motorboat while John prepares the autopilot. But Simon is already on the freighter. He sees it's moving and jumps on board, breaking his leg in the process. He tries to override the autopilot, but it's too late. Tentacles block the escape. John shoots furiously, buying time. They dive through corridors. He traps the monster behind elevator doors. Just as Simon screams, the freighter crashes into the cruise. A massive explosion consumes both ships. Fire floods every room. The octopus howls in agony before vanishing beneath the waves. Silence. Dawn rises. John and Trillian wash ashore on a nearby island. broken but alive. They kiss, grateful to have survived. Then they hear a splash. Joey somehow is alive too, bruised, limping, but alive. They laugh, cry, embrace. Then, a roar echoes from the jungle. Something else is waiting, and their nightmare might not be over yet. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe for more full horror breakdowns just like this one. What would you do if you were trapped on that cruise ship? Drop your answer in the comments. And remember, some monsters don't hide under your bed. They wait, under the sea,